in the back corner when I'm not presenting.
Listening in.
And listen in.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bass University Live here on Tuesday night.
Take a quick break, watch John Cruz's on the Tokyo rig.
Be a part of the show, get some chances to win some awesome prizes.
This Bass you go. You know, we didn't have that back then. And dude, it just...
That text thread gives me so much energy. I mean, like I'm dialed.
All right, good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Bass University Live. Today, I will be your host. For those of you that don't know me, I am Rich. Some people call me Riz. We're going to have a little bit of a different look today in the studio. We're kind of running a little bit of a skeleton crew, if you will. We're spread out all over the place. Pete's doing some on-water training. BTC is doing BTC things, building houses. So I'm going to be running the wheels of steel today a little bit. And I'm also going to have some help from the wonderful Miss Jocelyn. Jocelyn, how are you doing today?
Good. I'm doing good. I'm excited to be in studio. I think it's going to be a great show. I mean, yes, we don't have Pete, we don't have Greg, we don't have Brian, but we have Risby fishing.
That's right, Josh. I'm gonna do my best to fill in for these guys, but it's big shoes to fill when we're talking about the absence of Pete and BTC. They're
the dean.
The deans.
And the carpenter.
Yes, and the carpenter. So, guys, we got a fun show set up today for you. We're gonna be talking to Kyle Hall. He just recently had a first place finish and a second place finish up there on Lake Champlain. First place in the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit. That is a massive, massive accomplishment. And then he follows it up with a second place finish in the Toyota Series for the MLF event. So talk about a hot hand. That is him. We're also going to be showing some Bass U bucket list content today. That's some original programming that's featured on the Bass U TV website. So if you haven't seen it, today's going to be your chance to check out what the Bass U TV bucket list is all about. And then in the last segment of the show, I'm actually going to be doing some demonstrations for you guys on all the awesome features of the Bass U TV website. Some of the search features, some of the ways that you can identify exactly what you want to learn about on Bass U TV. That's all coming up later in the show. As always, guys, this show is brought to you by TackleDirect. We are in the TackleDirect studios right now. And there's some other companies that we work with as well that we got to mention. Bass Boats for Sale. That is the #1 resource for buying and selling bass boats online. These boats are highly vetted. They're tournament ready, and they have a boat for every single price point. Whether you're looking to buy, for just a few $1,000s all the way up to close to $100,000, guys, they got a boat for you, and they can help you sell it. Also, AquaView. Guys, this is an amazing piece of technology. The AquaView camera shows you what's below. It solidifies what you think you're seeing on those units. I saw some awesome footage from up north of some smallmouth swimming around, following the camera. It's really, really cool stuff, guys. If you haven't checked it out, you should right now. And our friends over at Hobie Eyewear, they make some amazing polarized sunglasses that are comfortable, they're lightweight, and some of their models even float. For all you guys that have leaned your head over the side of the boat, hat falls off, glasses fall off to the bottom of the lake. Well, guess what? Not with Hobie Eyewear. These things float, and they're just flat out really good sunglasses. So with no further ado, there's been some things going on in the fishing industry like we mentioned before. Mainly, it's been the Kyle Hall show with a win and a second place up there on Lake Champlain. And congratulations to Brian LaBelle. He actually won the the Toyota Series on Lake Champlain last week. Heck of an accomplishment. That's a Vermont guy, local hammer on Lake Champlain. So way to get it done up there. There was also a MLF BPT event this past week on Cayuga Lake. And for everybody that knows a little bit about Cayuga, Cayuga is an absolute fish factory. I think I saw more pictures of bloody scabbed hands during that event than I have ever before. I mean, that just gives you an idea of how many fish these guys were truly catching at that lake. It is a fish factory. Big congratulations to Dustin Cannell. The Ding crew got it done again. Dustin got another win on the Major League Fishing side of things, and his good buddy Jacob Wheeler followed him up right there in second place, extended his lead out on Jordan Lee for the AOY race for the MLF Pro Tour by a little bit more. So Jacob Wheeler really has his hands on the control wheel for the BPT. He's going to be tough to catch, but it's not undoable. And last but not least, our friends over at Bassmaster, they're coming back this week on Lake Hawaii, Oahe, Ahahi. Lake Oahe from South Dakota. Guys, this is a smallmouth fishery, and if you've never looked at it on the map, I'm just going to tell you right now, you should. It is like 160 miles long. No exaggeration. It is absolutely huge. I'm seeing pictures of big smallmouth. I'm seeing pictures of buffalo in the background, mountains, Mount Washington, the Mount Rushmore, all of it. It's all going on up there at Lake Oahe in South Dakota. And from what I'm hearing, there is like nowhere on this lake to get gas. So what the heck do you do? How do you break down a body of water that's that big when you can't get gas anywhere? So that'll be an interesting one for sure. We'll be looking forward to seeing some results from that. And all signs lead to say that the fishing on Lake Oahe has actually gotten better since they were there in 2018 when Mark Daniels Jr. won. He did a lot of his damage on a Ned rig. But this past summer, there was a 7.5-pound smallmouth weighed in at Lake Oahe. Scott, that's a giant smallmouth there. Huge. Josh, could you catch a 7.5-pounder?
I could catch 10. Easily,
Jocelyn could catch a 10-pounder. So this is really going to be a fun event. Lake Oahe, it's like uncharted territory. These guys are fishing on the moon, basically. The fish don't see much pressure up there. A lot of guys walleye fish, a lot of guys pike fish, a lot of guys trout fish up there. But you know what? These big giant smallmouth are left pretty much untouched. So that's going to be a cool event to watch. Can't wait to see how all that shakes out. Big implications on the Bassmaster AOY race as well. We got Brandon Polinick. He's still holding it down. He's leading the charge for the Bassmaster AOY, but he's got some guys nipping at his heels that can flat out catch him, to the likes of David Mullins and John Cox. So we'll see how that all shakes out. They got a back-to-backer going on. They're Lake Oahe, they're fishing that this week, and then they're rolling right across to the Mississippi River in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So things are really, really going to get electric over there for the last few events of the year. And we can't wait to see who comes out on top.
Who do you think's going to come out on top? Who's your pick?
I honestly, Josh, I think that Brandon Polinick is going to be tough to run down. He's been there before. He's done it.
Is this the first time they're having it at Lake Oahe?
So it's going to be the second time. In 2018, they were there, and it was a smallmouth fest. It was dominated by smallmouth, and we saw some really big weights: 20-pound bags, 21-pound bags, and like I said, apparently the fishing's gotten even better. So we'll see. It could really be a slugfest. Can't wait to see how all that goes down. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of forward-facing sonar going on. Scott, you got to experience that a little bit.
Fantastic up in Champlain, like every day. It was just pick your target and hit him on the nose.
Oh,
incredible.
Man, watch him eat the bait.
Yep.
Set the hook and go. So, guys, that's all coming up. We'll be keeping tabs on that for sure as well. But we have Kyle Hall. He's going to be joining us in the second segment here. We are going to take a quick commercial break before we come back with Kyle. And guys, it's a great time to take advantage of the programs we have going on right now at BUTV. We have a 6-month membership going on right now for $49.99, and that gets you a $25 TackleDirect gift card as well. All right, so if you're on the fence, now's a great time to do it. You're basically getting 6 months for $25 when it comes down to it, because you're getting your sign-up fee, and then you're going to spend some money over there at TackleDirect, get your gear, go out and apply it to the things we're teaching you about. And if you're not ready to pay yet and you're not ready to join the whole program and you're just kind of milling around waiting to see what's going on, use the code BULive30. That's going to get you 30 days of unlimited access to the Bash University program. All the same things a paying member would get, right? But the first 30 days are free. You get to try it out. That comes with a whole slew of member benefits. Companies like Missile Baits, Rapala, VMC, Cash and Rods. And our guy Scott, he just keeps adding more companies to this member benefits discount. So, guys, it really does pay to be a member of the program. It's like a family over here. We're just trying to help guys catch more and bigger bass. So don't wait. Get signed up. During today's show, you'll be able to interact with us on the message board, get your questions through to Miss Jocelyn, and she'll bring them on, and we'll get them answered by Kyle or whoever we're talking to. So awesome time to sign up. I'm going to quit rambling now. I'm going to get the commercial queued up, and then we're going to bring Kyle Hall, the hottest angler in fishing right now, is what I'm going to dub him as. I mean, he just walked away with like $160,000 in 2 weeks.
That's a really nice weekend.
That's tough to say that he's not the hottest stick in the country right now. So quick commercial break. All the companies that support us, we need you to support them. They keep the lights on for us. If you want to keep hearing BU Live, you got to support these guys. So here they go. We'll be right back with some more Bash University Live.
BassBoatForSale.com is the world's premier bass boat listings business. We focus on driving premium web traffic to our main website, business Facebook page, business Instagram, and our business YouTube channel, providing your bass boat listings the best buying traffic and top-notch exposure. Whether you need to sell your bass boat or are looking to buy a bass boat, it's simple. We give boats exposure so buyers shop and sellers list. One-time listing fee, no commission, and boats list until they sell. BassBoatForSale.com. Check it out.
AquaView, the leader in underwater viewing technology. Find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun. AquaView. Seeing is believing.
Why do you love casting fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA. Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick. Every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out there in a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worman series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
On the water, not spent fishing, is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together. The One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, They can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
All right, guys, welcome back to Bass University Live. We are getting ready to bring on, as I said just a few moments ago, the hottest angler in the game right now, Kyle Hall. But before we do that, Miss Jocelyn, there's a couple things you wanted to let us know about. What do we got going on?
Well, our good friends over at Johnson Outdoors, Humminbird, Minn Kota, have partnered up with the American Sporting Association, the ASA. They have a nonprofit called Keep America Fishing Program, and they're doing an online fishing tournament, and it's for both freshwater and saltwater. But Johnson Outdoors has generously provided the first place winner of this online tournament a $500 prize pack, which could include the latest rods, reels, lures, coolers, electronics, and other gear. But there's also prizes for second and third place as well. All proceeds go to the nonprofit Keep American Fishing Program, and I think it's just a great way to keep everyone active.
That's right. It's involvement. It's getting people started in the sport of fishing, and they do a lot of really good things.
I think it's really cool too. Over at Johnson Outdoors, there you have a Clean Earth Challenge.
Yeah.
And that just protects the waterways,
Right.
and it keeps everyone happy and fishing. And
Absolutely. That's a big thing that we have to be cognizant of as anglers, and not only just anglers, just activists of really planet Earth when it comes down to it. We got to make sure that we're taking care of the water. We got to make sure that our waterways, our fisheries are kept clean, and supporting companies like this that are leading the charge. That's really, really important stuff, guys. So do your part, check them out, and
I'll provide the link for people to sign up. It's only $25,
Cool.
and you could win $500 prize pack as first place, and
Awesome.
there's second and third place. So I'll provide the link for everyone.
Online fishing tournament.
Online fishing tournament.
That's awesome. And you know what, guys, that means anybody can enter. So definitely give them a check out. But with no further ado, I want to bring on the man who is just flat out catching their butts up there at Lake Champlain, which, you know, anybody who's ever been there, you know how special Lake Champlain is. It's a unique fishery. It's flat out full of fish, and sometimes that can kind of get in the way of things. You know, you get caught catching a ton of fish, a lot of 3-pounders, a lot of 3.5-pounders, and then you get bumped out by the guy that caught a half a pound more, right? Well, this guy has done something a little bit unique lately, and I can't wait to hear about it from him. Kyle, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. Honestly, I got nothing to complain about because I'm getting to talk about some fishing, and I'm going to learn about some pretty cool stuff that you've been doing lately up there on Lake Champlain, man. It's been a heck of a run. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I enjoy y'all having me on here, but it's stinging a little watching the title live this morning.
Oh, man, right. So that's the trail that you fish in.
Yeah, it's St. Lawrence River. I've won there before, and it stings pretty bad not getting to fish that thing. But
hey,
Champlain was good.
Yeah, you know what? A couple of big checks will kind of ease the sting a little bit. I think that's a good remedy.
Yeah, it did that for sure.
Yeah. So speaking of the St. Lawrence River, you won there in 2018, which is that's not a couple days ago, man. That's a few years ago. You've been going at this thing for a while now, man. How long have you been fishing? When did you start fishing professionally? What got you going in all this?
So I started traveling with Dakota E-Bear. I think 2016. We fished some Toyota Series and BFLs the first 2 years, and then 2018, we decided to go up north and fish the Toyota Series, and he was fishing some Bass Opens and stuff like that. And I ended up winning the Toyota Series on St. Lawrence, Thousand Islands, actually, because we're out of Clayton. So, and I was just to the point that my dad sent me. We went to visit a college. This is how it all got started. We went to visit a college because that's what I wanted to go do. And when we went and visited, on the way home, he was like, instead of going to school, I think I'll pay for you 4 years to go fishing. And if you don't make it in 4 years, then we'll rethink the situation. And 4 years into it, I was like, we're getting about close. Like, then I won at 18. So a couple years later, I got on the pro circuit and then won Rookie of the Year the first year, and all was great. I was living high on life. I was finished 10th in the points.
Right, unstoppable.
The next few years kind of went downhill. Then this last tournament really kind of turned things around again for me. So
right.
I don't know but I'm excited to see.
Yeah. You know, we actually talked a little bit about this on the phone yesterday, but you know, you said you were out of it as far as the points are concerned for this year, and you know, you went in with a winning mentality, right?
Right. I found something last year around the same time of the year on Champlain, and as soon as they released the schedule, like I was already itching to go. And it ended up working out. So
talk a little bit about the mentality you had going into it, because you know, you weren't, like you said, you weren't fishing for points. You strictly went up there to try and win the dang thing. So how did it feel different going into this one than just a regular, you know, a regular season event where you're thinking about points, you're kind of not thinking about points? This time you just went in to win, man. How did that feel? What were you thinking going in?
I don't really know. I don't. Going into it, knew I was like 96 in the points. So even if I won, I wasn't going to make the title. So my back was kind of against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I went out there the first day of practice, and I kind of just checked the stuff from the last year. And they were a lot shallower than I thought they were going to be on some of the same stuff I caught them on shallow last year.
Okay.
And first day of practice, I kind of got comfortable with knowing, like, I know where they are and I know where they're headed, but many of them are out there real deep yet. So I kind of just played the shallow deal, and I slept great the whole event. I wasn't nervous the whole time. I wasn't nervous until the final day when scale said 21.6, because I did not think I had that.
Right.
And myself up in the weigh-in line, and when it said 21.6, I knew stuff's about to get real.
Yeah, stuff's about to get real. You're going to be walking into the bank with a big check. That's going to get really, really real.
What's weird is I slept a lot better in the week of the pro circuit than I did the Toyota Series.
Okay. Well,
I was relaxed. I was calm. I knew what I had to go out and do the next day. And Toyota Series, there was guys catching them, and I knew I had ground to make up after the first day, so I didn't sleep much.
Talk about the lake, and did it change between the tackle wear out between the pro circuit event and the Toyota Series? Sorry, I keep stumbling over there's so many trails now. I have a tough time keeping up with them, to be honest. But did things change between those two events? Like, did the conditions change? Did the fish move on you? What went on in that week in between?
They did, actually. When I found them the first couple days of practice and the first 3 days of the tournament, I spent less than 18 foot of water, the majority of the 3 days, the first 3 days of the pro circuit. The first day, I had 20 pounds early, and so I just ran out to one deep spot that I found them in practice on the similar stuff that I found them last year, and I caught one big one immediately, just like I did in practice when I got over there. So I left. And the second day, I went back to my shallow area, caught them again. And I knew if I catch enough fish in that shallow area, come the final day when the weight zeroed, I was going to go out deep and I was going to stay out there because it was the right ones when you did catch one. So I ended up staying the fourth day all in 40-plus feet of water, and it worked out. And then for the Toyota event, there was no fish in less than – I didn't catch a fish less than 40 feet. So
wow.
I would say moved out there, 6 days, 7 days.
Good gosh, yeah. So they moved a little on you for sure. Talk a little bit about what you do in Texas, because I've seen your social media, man. You catch some absolute giants out there, and is what you're doing in Texas, like, is it similar in any way to what you were doing up there? Because like it's 3 events now where you've had really good finishes in the state of New York, and you're from Texas. Like they're a million miles apart. How are you so good up there?
It honestly really is. I think that at Champlain last week, I covered a lot of water with the trolling motor. The last day of the pro circuit, I hit one spot all day, and I probably spent 5 or 6, 7 miles on the trolling motor in a 1 mile stretch. I was just going back and forth. And that's what we kind of do down here on these lakes that I've been fishing. You just cover water on the trolling motor, because if you're running past them, you go fish this point and then run to this point with the big motor, you're running past a lot of fish. So if you just troll the motor the whole way, you're going to see those fish and you're hunting individual fish. So that's what we do down here, and I've got really good down here at telling the size of them. And I think when I got up there, it's much harder to tell the size of them, but I think by the end of the week, on the 4th day when it really mattered, I could tell the size of them pretty good versus because they don't get much longer up there. They just get more round. So
right. So you're hunting individual fish, right? That's what you're doing down there in Texas. That's how you're catching those giants, man. So how did you figure out how to, you're not looking at the length on your live scope. You're trying to identify essentially how round they are. What got you to that point? Like, how did you figure that process out?
Honestly, I've become friends with one of the best live sonar guys probably in the world right now. His name's Josh Jones. You've probably heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he taught me a lot of what I know about the live sonar. And he taught me how to do it, but it's taken a lot of time for me to be behind the screen myself to actually say, okay, that down here in Texas, that's an 8-pounder, that's a 10-pounder, that's a 12-pounder.
Okay.
Up there, it's a lot harder, but you could tell the difference between a 2 and a 4-pounder.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. And go a little bit deeper on that. Like, do you get a different return on your sonar, or do you see a different shape, or do they move differently? How are you identifying like the differences, or is it just purely a size thing?
It's mainly a size thing. The first 3 days, it was actually by the end of the second day off that shallow spot, I could kind of tell how big they were just where they were sitting in the water column, because it seemed like every 4+ pound fish I caught was sitting like 3/4 of the way down. Every one of them. The small ones would be way up at the top in big schools, and if I could find a single that was 3/4 of the way down, most of the time that was a 4-pounder. So just throw a swim bait over its head and watch it come all the way to the top and eat it.
Yeah, that's fun stuff, watching them come up to your bait. But it sounds like there was a little bit of like there was you were developing a pattern inside of just like the live sonar hunting, if you know what I mean. Like, because you said you were looking for them in specific depths, and you almost it almost seems like by the end of each day, or at some point in each day, it's like you knew what part of the water you needed to be looking for them in, it was just a matter of at that point finding them with the live sonar? Is that kind of what was going on?
Yeah, I would pretty much go like you would see the schools of the small ones, and I say small, they're anywhere from 6 inches to 2 pounds. There would be about 20 of them together, and they'd be sitting like right on top of the water. And I would go past all of those because I had casted at a bunch of those in practice in the first couple days, and I never caught over a 2-pounder. So I knew, don't waste your time on those. It seemed like every one of the ones that were 3/4 of the way down, and you had to cover a lot of water, and then all of a sudden you would get in this one stretch, and you would see like 10 or 15 in the matter of 10 or 15 minutes. And it was just a matter of getting them in the boat and getting them off, getting the next one.
Right, right. So when you're fishing these things on the live sonar, is it just like the I say old school, and it's not even really that long ago, but we would say like, once you get the school fired up, you got to get that bait off, you got to get that fish off, get your bait back in the school right away because you got them going. Does that apply to the live sonar as well? Like, can you see the activity of the fish?
Yeah, you can big time, but I mean, it was pretty hard to get 2 of them out of the same school off the shallow spot to bite. And you would almost have to mark waypoint because they would be somewhere around the same area if you come back to them an hour later or so. So if you found a school of big ones, you just hit a waypoint, come back to that waypoint, start there, and kind of just work your way around that area, and you would find this. I say the same school, but don't really know. But somewhere in that area, you would start finding better fish. And I was assuming it was the same school.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it's like you got to let them cool off a little bit, or you got to let the school set back up, and then you come back to them and you can get them to go again. Gotcha. What kind of baits were you throwing at these fish? What was your go-to technique?
The first 3 days in the shallow stuff, I was watching them on sonar. If I thought they were set up right and I could get a swim bait to them, I was throwing a swim bait. I was throwing it on 20-pound Tatsu, Seagar, big line. I don't like fighting them smallmouth on them light line and all that. I mean, adrenaline rush, you lose a bunch. I didn't lose any on the swim bait. I mean, they would come up and crush it. You would miss a bunch, but I think the ones I did miss were small ones. When there was a big one, they would eat it all the way down the throat. So that's pretty much what I wanted to do, was catch them on the swim bait. So when I thought I saw one that I could, that's what I would do. If I thought I seen a group of them that probably really wouldn't react to a swim bait that were sitting kind of on the bottom, I would catch a drop shot with a flatworm, shad colored, because that's what they were doing, is chasing bait, flatworm, and a baby's B2.
Okay, cool stuff. So when you say they set up right for a swim bait, or they weren't set up right for a swim bait, how could you tell? Was it how they were positioned or the way they were moving? What was going on there?
So the ones in like 3/4 of the way down, it was like 14 feet. So they'd be sitting at 11 or 12 feet. And if they're kind of just sitting there, you can tell on the sonar because you'll see like their tail, or you won't. If they're just sitting there, I'd pitch a drop shot over to them because they really aren't active. But if you can see that tail swimming and you were kind of like having to, so you have to turn your sonar to keep it on them because they'll be swimming to the left or the right. So that's how you know if they're swimming. If they were swimming at all, I would throw a swim bait over them because I knew they were out hunting, looking, and
looks like we lost your video there.
Yeah,
Getting a phone call. Somebody wants to buy every single swim bait that you threw this week, and then every single Berkeley Mac sent.
Yeah. I don't know how to get back to it.
We had you back for a second. We still got your audio. It looks like you just came off the camera. There we go. Now we see you. Got to turn your audio back on now. There he is.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, man. We can hear you. What went on there? Were you getting a phone call or a text, or know?
Yeah, Josh is calling. He's probably mad I'm talking about him teaching me live skills.
That's right. Hey, Josh, give us just a second, man. Come on, we'll lay off him here in a few minutes. But when you were throwing that swim bait, what kind of swim bait were you throwing? Was it just like a Kitech style, or?
It was actually a 6 Sense Divine swim bait.
Okay.
The Kitech threw those, and all the small ones would come up and try to eat it, and they would just rip the tail off of it on the first or second cast. So I got pretty frustrated trying to throw those. I figured out the 6 Sense Divine swim bait. It had a little bit thicker back half to the tail,
Mm-hmm.
and the small ones, if they did come up and hit it, they wouldn't eat the tail off on the first or second cast. They just lasted a lot longer. I was throwing the heaviest head I had in my boat. I think it was like a half or 5/8.
Right.
I was throwing it out there, burning it. I mean, even if they were 10 feet down, if I got it right over their head, they'd come all the way up, even off the bottom sometimes.
So you were moving that thing pretty quick.
As soon as I could tell that they seen it, I'd speed it up, and they'd think it's getting away from them or something, and that's when I caught the biggest one.
That's you just gave up some juice right there. Guys that are watching the show, take note of that one. He said when he noticed that they were following it, you speed it up. You don't slow it down.
Yeah, no, you can't stop it. It's got to be more natural, and I don't know any shad that's just going to slow down and let it smallmouth eat them.
Right. That's like a bear chasing you in the woods. You're not going to slow down. You're going to speed up, right? You're going to try and get away from that sucker. That's awesome stuff. What reel were you throwing that on? Like what gear ratio?
I throwing on a Shimano Corrado DC. I think it was an 8.5.
Okay. All right. So you're moving that bait then. If you start turning that handle fast, you're bringing that thing in pretty hot.
Yeah, but I've never seen. You don't really know how fast smallmouth are until you watch them on that sonar, and when they start chasing that swim bait, it's like the faster you reel, the faster they get. And I don't think they caught it every time, and sometimes they'd eat it right by the boat. So
you can't get it away from one that wants it. That's for sure. How about the rod length, action, all that good stuff?
I was using an Odie Hammer 610, or for the swim bait, I was using an Odie Hammer 7.6 medium heavy. I just wanted that longer rod. It was windy.
Right.
Cast it a long ways. I had my sonar set out, my live scope set out to 120 feet, I think. So, gosh, dang.
You're a popular man. What can you say? You just won a bunch of tournaments.
Yeah. Odie Hammer 7.6 medium heavy.
Yep.
I was making, like I said, and when I set the hook on them, I wanted to get in them. So.
Right. You weren't playing with them.
I think I had a 7.6 heavy rigged up too for the couple days it got windy, just in case I couldn't get a hook in them. But
Gotcha. That's awesome stuff. Catching smallmouth on a 7'6" bait casting rod. That's no finesse. You're hooking those things and you're having your way with them. You didn't want to mess with that spinner rod much, huh?
I think the first day I boat so it's like 3 of the 4-pounders that I weighed in. So
oh gosh.
it was.
That's awesome, man. What how about that head? So I'm a swim bait thrower. I throw a swim bait a lot. So now you perked my ears up when you said that you're catching these suckers on a swim bait. What was the head that you're throwing? You said it was heavy, but what?
It was a Divine head as well.
The Divine?
A screw lock.
Yeah.
They make a screw lock head with a big heavy hook, and didn't want it bending because I knew I was gonna be boat flipping some of them. So.
Gotcha. And when you got the bite, were you reeling and leaning, or were you going just full send, smoking them, just cracking the whip?
I was. So they would hit it a couple times sometimes before they'd actually eat it, and I would have to keep speeding it up. So it really took a lot for me to not set the hook on the first hit.
Right.
And I would just keep reeling faster and faster as many times as they hit it. And finally, even if small ones were hitting it, I cast it at a big one. I know there's a big one down there. And I knew any second they could eat it, and they would come up and take it from the small ones and here we go.
Yeah.
I was reeling all the way down to him and just letting him have it.
Big rod, big line, big hook set. Gotta love it. Kyle, we got some questions for you on our Bass U TV message board. Jocelyn, what do the people want to hear about from Kyle?
Okay, well, we have a couple questions, actually. We have 3 of them.
Okay.
First is from Mr. Higgs. He wants to know, what are your top 3 confidence smallmouth baits, and are any of them unconventional?
Mainly, other than the swim bait deal, that was the deal that I found just because I wanted to use big line. So, other than that, all I throw for smallmouth is a drop shot. Like, I throw a Ned rig. I've never caught a good smallmouth on a Ned rig. I throw a drop shot, big weight typically, so I can fill them. There's times that you can't throw the big weight, but mainly the Z2, Strike King Z2.
Okay.
And change the colors in that between a green pumpkin or a white. That's the only 2 colors I'll throw. And a flatworm and green pumpkin or white. I think once you get into all the other colors, it doesn't really matter. But
gotcha.
That's the trot is the number 1 bait that I throw. That's the only thing that I had 6 of them rigged up the final day, and I had 6 rigged up all 3 days of the Toyota Series. That's all I had. So
Awesome. And then we also have a question from Howie. He wants to know, Kyle, do you find that the same weight/size smallmouth usually school together, or is it usually a mix of weight and size?
Most of the time, I would say they school. The big ones will be in wolf packs of 4 or 5, and they'll all be big. But there has been times that you throw down there in a school of small ones, and I can see on sonar, I can see 20 of them sitting there, and I can pick out the biggest one and be like, that one's 3 times as big as all these little 1.5 pounders. So there is times that they'll mix up, but I don't think it's very often. The schools I like to find are schools like giant schools. Like the day I won, I was sitting on a school of probably 100 of them, and they were all off the ledge. But the only ones that were eating would be right up on the ledge, and there was like 10 of them, and I caught 8 of them, I think, and they were all 4-pounders.
Now, did you like see fish moving up on the ledge out of the school that was off? Like, did you see fish go up onto the ledge to like actively feed, or if they were off, did they just stay off for most of the day?
Most of the ones that were off stayed off. Like I would go down the ledge. How I found it in practice is I went down the ledge in 30 feet, and then I went down. This ledge is 2 miles long. Keep in mind, it took me 3 hours. It took me this whole second day to figure out where these fish were on this ledge of practice. I went down in 30 feet, I went down in 40 feet, and I went down in 50 feet, and I figured out that in practice, my best area was going to be the 40-foot stretch right in the middle. And there was fish in 50 and there was fish in 30, but not very many. All the fish were in 50, but every now and then you would get to a school that had moved up onto the ledge. You could find several schools in 50 down that ledge, but they wouldn't eat. But as soon as you found the couple that moved up to that 40, those were the ones that were going to eat.
Were there any bait patterns you were following?
Say that again, Scott.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there any bait patterns you were following where they're spitting up perch or are they eating minnows, that type of thing?
That was actually perch, LY, the shad type. I'm not even really sure. I think something like a Texas shad. But
yeah,
perch, LY, and what I call white bass. I've heard them called shiners, yellow perch, or white perch. There was all 3 of those in the area, and some of the white perch were small enough for them to eat. But I caught mainly the 10 to 12 inch white perch.
Oh, gotcha. That's awesome. Yeah, when I was using a live scope up there, I was following the baits of fish, the bait fish to the bigger fish.
Yeah, there was actually 3 different sources of food, so I think that's what kind of had them. Everything was there, so.
Right. They had the whole buffet was there, ready for him
That's
to
Lake
eat.
Champlain, baby.
It sure is. So Kyle, man, that is some absolutely awesome stuff about how you got it done. What do you got going on down there in Texas, man? You're a guide. You also work in a tackle store. You're in the construction business. What else are you doing other than fishing, man? What all's going on?
Well, my dad and my brother are actually the real estate guys. I don't do much of that. I'm the tackle store, and guiding's really about to pick up here come November, December, and January during the off season. Once it gets cold down here, that's the best month to catch these giants. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, shout yourself out, man. What's your guide business? How can people find you?
Kyle Hall Fishing on Instagram, Facebook. Pretty much it.
What's and what part of the state are you in? What part of Texas?
Granbury, Texas area. It's close to Fort Worth. I go to all these lakes around here. A big lake that we go to is OHIV, PK, lakes like that. If y'all ever heard of them, they're unbelievable. So
yeah, that's awesome stuff.
We're gonna catch. So get ready.
Double digits coming out. It looks like daily down there. Is that an accurate take?
Yeah, I think I went I went 4 days back in June. I think it was 4 days. I caught 6 double digits, and 3 of them come in 1 day. So
yeah, that's insane, man. Man. Heck of a run you had up there at Champlain. You weren't able to get into the pro circuit championship this year, but you capped off the year with a win and a second place to ease the pain. So that's an accomplishment well done. And thank you for taking the time to talk to us, man. We really enjoyed hearing about the ways that you targeted these fish, that you caught them. And we got to know what's next for you. Are you staying on the same trail next year? Are you gonna maybe try to go to the elites? What's going on with you?
I think I'm gonna stay on the same trail and try to qualify for the Bass Pro Tour. That's the plan as of right now. I may have a couple more tournaments left this year. I don't know. I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna go to the St. Lawrence River and fish the Toyota because I'm leading the wild card, and to make it to the Toyota Series Championship, you have to fish 4 events. Well, I've only fished 3. So,
well, hey, you got some history up there at the St. Lawrence River. What time of year was it that you won up there in 2018?
It was the first week of September, I believe. And this is going to be a little bit later, so there'll be more out there deeper, which is what I like. And trying to decide if I'm going to go. I'm going to plan it the next week or so if I'm going to make my way back up there. I'm not looking forward to the drive. It was miserable coming home, but kind of gets my blood pumping thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, hey, you can do it. We'll all be pulling for you here. Kyle, thank you for the time, man. If people want to follow you on social media, how can they do that?
Kyle Hall Fishing on Instagram and Facebook. I follow back too. So.
Okay. All right, guys, that was Kyle Hall. Heck of a run. Kyle, thanks for the time. We look forward to talking to you again, and good luck up there at the St. Lawrence when you go lock up that wild card.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. All right, man. Wow, what a guest we had there with Kyle. Sounds like he's a live sonar specialist hanging around to the likes of Josh Jones down there in Texas. Those guys are really revolutionizing things on how they target the biggest fish in the lake consistently. It's really an art inside of itself. Everybody's using live sonar, it seems like these days. but not everybody is catching the biggest fish in the lake consistently. And he did that not once, but almost did it 2 times in a row at Lake Champlain against some of the stoutest competition that you can have. So speaking of Lake Champlain, guys, as I said in the first segment, we are going to leak a little bit of unseen footage for some people that are out there right now, and that is the Lake Champlain bucket list on Bass U TV. We took the time a few years ago to put together this feature to showcase one of the best lakes in the country, and the time of year that we shot it is not too long from now. It was mid-September, so about a month from right now is when we shot this. I was lucky enough to be a part of that shoot. We were running the drone camera from my boat, and I was there just to watch Pete and Mike catch all these giant fish. I didn't actually get to do it. I'm still a little bit grumpy about that, but we'll get over it one day. So, guys, I want to cue this up for you right now. This is the Lake Champlain Bass University TV bucket list.
Welcome to the bucket list on Lake Champlain. Guys, this is something I've been looking forward to bringing to you guys for a long time. It's been on our production schedule, and we're finally here. And this is a special lake to me. This is Lake Champlain. This has been a place that, man, I fell in love with from the first moment that I came here. It's been so long ago now that that was my first experience fishing here on Lake Champlain. And I remember when I first came, I was so amazed at the abundance of life on this lake. It's like nothing I've ever experienced. I saw something that lit a fire in me that I had never seen before. Just so many fish, so many bait fish, so many birds. Set here in the Adirondack Mountains, smallmouth, giant largemouth, northern pike, everywhere. Every type of fish species that you want to go after is here, but none more abundant than the largemouth and smallmouth bass that live here. And the size, a lot of the lakes that we have been to throughout the country, you know, catching 4-pound fish is kind of tricky. Not here, 4-pounders abound in both species, and they're just absolute blast to fish. I'm going to be joined shortly by my partner, Mike Iaconelli. Him and I both have had a love affair with this lake, had a lot of success tournament fishing this lake, had just a lot of fun learning how to fish these types of waters on this lake. Whether you're fishing for largemouth or smallmouth bass, we're going to give you the tools, show you how we do that, and we're going to be doing it here on Lake Champlain.
Oh, man. Oh. Man. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Good night. Welcome to the Lake Champlain bucket list, Bass University. Whoo! This is my favorite lake. It always has been, and this is why. This fish is 20 years old, and there's so many of them. They're so beautiful and thick. We're here in September. They're feeding up, getting ready for their winter, and that's just a beautiful, beautiful largemouth bass. Beautiful Lake Champlain bass. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Mike Iaconelli is gonna be here. We're gonna be talking to him about all his great Lake Champlain stories, and we're gonna be fishing for these guys and some brown ones too. So stay with us, guys. Pete Gluzek for the Bass University bucket list. Why should Lake Champlain be on everybody's bucket list?
Because it's gotta be, bro. No, why is it? And you know what's funny though, before I answer that, when you ask people, and you know, that's a question that we get all the time. We've been getting that question for 10 years.
What's your favorite place to go?
Dude, 75, 80% of the guys, I don't care if you're from Florida or Texas or Alabama or up where we're from, Champlain's always on their list, dude. If it's not number one, it's 2 or 3. Right? Why is that? You know, I think because it's a dynamic lake from the standpoint of catching 50% largemouth and 50% smallmouth in a given area. I think that's the unique factor. There's a lot of smaller ones, but the big one is, dude, where else can you go and catch 20 pounds of largemouth, flipping the reeds, turn around, go back on the same stretch, but fish out and catch 20 pounds of smallmouth? Where else can you go in the country and do that? That's the reason, a big reason, I think. And then all the other stuff, man, the sheer size of it, you know, the beauty of this area. We're upstate New York, you know. Right now in the fall, I mean, the leaves are changing. It's gorgeous, you know. Not a lot of lakes in the country where I think this is a lake that you can still go and catch a fish that's never seen a bait in certain areas of the lake. The middle of the lake, dude, I really believe with my heart and soul there are fish in the middle of the lake that have never bit an artificial lure. Very rare, dude. Very rare. That's this lake, you know, it's special.
Yeah, it is. It's 150 miles long, and you're right.
Yeah.
There's fish that haven't seen stuff.
Yeah. They call it what did they call it? The last Great Lake or the
sixth Great Lake?
Great Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the 6th largest lake in the United States. It was founded, or it was discovered in the 1600s.
By Champlain?
Yeah.
Wow, I don't know how I guessed that.
Yep, and you know, a few years after that was the first time I fished here. That
was right before Woodstock, wasn't it?
It was a little bit before Woodstock.
Okay.
That was the first time I fished here.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you fished
Dude,
Lake Champlain?
I remember the first time I fished Lake Champlain like it was yesterday, and it was so long ago. It was late May of 1990. I had just first joined my bass club. I was a senior in high school, and the club that I joined, named Top Rod Bassmasters, they had a club trip every year, and this is where they would go. So Top Rod and the competing club, which was Barrington Rod and Reel, had been gone even before that, probably since the mid-'80s. So I had built up that, well, man, when I joined this club, this is one of the reasons I want to join this club is, dude, I keep hearing these stories of 100-fish days. I'm like, Poss, this can't be true, you know what I mean? But I remember coming up here with my club, staying at a cabin just like this. It was a different cabin. It was a cabin in the Passage, what we call the Passage. And dude, I remember how basic everything was back then, you know? I had 4 rods. I had a tackle bag, Tackle Logic tackle bag. We had to bring a trolling motor up because you got in a rental boat. When you rented the cabin, you also got a 14 or 16-foot V-hull with the cabin. And it had like a 15 or 20 on it gas. But you would bring your own trolling motor. So we brought trolling motors. We brought these portable depth finders that had a suction cup transducer. Dude, it was really exciting, you know? But I remember we get up here in the first morning, you know, it's like the anticipation of, is it going to live up to the hype that I've heard about? You know, it's my first time, and it's huge. And, you know, we're in the Passage and we launch and we kind of all follow each other. And it's funny that this is the first place I ever fished on Champlain, and it's still an amazing spot. And we make a right out of the cabins and we start going, and we're just looking around. We've never been here before. Who knows where to fish? You're looking around, and all of a sudden, as we get a little bit further down, we start seeing these giant white rocks. And it's so eye-catching, you know? It drew our eye, and we went to these white rocks. And I mean, 3 boats staggered in a row on these white rocks. And we caught 100 apiece. It was the most unbelievable, you know, experience up to that point in my life for catching numbers of fish, size of fish, and the mix that was there, you know? 50 smallmouths and 50 largemouths in one day on pretty much anything you wanted to throw, you know, spinner baits, soft baits, lipless vibrations back then. It was incredible. And I mean, it was the kind of experience that, you know, hooks you on this place, you know. Now, it was a long time ago, you know. It was a long, long time ago.
30 years ago.
30 years ago. And I don't know that it's quite as good. A lot's happened in those 30 years. This lake's received a lot of pressure. But there is still the potential to come out here and catch 100 fish in a day. Dude, that's special. That's special, dude.
That is pretty awesome about this place.
Yeah.
And I think you might have done that today.
Yeah.
If we let you.
Yeah. Yeah, damn camera guys, you know, if they would let me just fish in the rain, it would be all right.
We got to sit in the cabin and talk. Well, John, your buddy John McGraw, my buddy too, said that you ruined the Lake Champlain trips.
I did.
You absolutely ruined it because it was all even field. You come up, you get the John boats, but then the one year you showed up with a brand new Ranger.
I did.
And ruined everything.
I probably did ruin it. I probably did ruin it. Yeah.
Zipping around.
Dude, it was incredible because it was literally, you know, again, you got to remember, this trip was always for Top Rod. It was always late May, early June. And I won that tournament. It was the 1994 Bassmaster Top 150 on Lake Norman. I fished as a co-angler, and first place was a bass boat. It was a 374V. So I came up here pulling this boat, basically not knowing how to drive a bass boat, not knowing how to back it in. In fact, when I launched it at Gwen's place, I didn't have the plug-in. I didn't even know you were supposed to have a plug-in about it. He sunk the boat as soon as I launched it. But it was interesting because I learned a lot about the boat, but it opened up this place for me for the first time. You know, we were limited to a certain extent with a 14-foot John boat. And outside of the passage and maybe gone 5 miles that way and 5 miles that way, we didn't know a whole lot. And all of a sudden now I had a 18-foot boat with a 150, and I learned what's past that bridge at the mouth of Missisquoi? What's up there? The inland sea was always so intimidating. What's down the inland sea? What's this Knights Island, Butler Island? What is that? And it really did. It probably did ruin it because, you know, it really expanded the horizons, and you got to see how dynamic this lake was. It's not just white rock and reed banks. It's, you know, boulders, it's island points, it's docks, it's cans, buoy cans, it's sailboats, it's all this stuff. And man, I learned a lot. I don't know, outside of fishing in South Jersey, I don't know that there's a single lake that I've fished in my lifetime that I've learned more at than Lake Champlain. Honestly, I think from power fishing to finesse fishing to everything in between, I think I've learned more at this fishery than any other lake, you know, in my life, you know.
It's amazing what happens when you get 100 bites in a day.
It's crazy.
It's eye-opening about how fish behave.
And you go from not knowing a bait to getting those bites, and it's confidence, and that you get to that mastery level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the lipless bait's a good example. The first couple years we were catching them on lipless here. I had caught fish on a rattle trap, rattle spot up to that point, but when you have 50, 100 fish days, you start to learn the bait really well. You know, what it does, and, you know, slow roll versus burn versus yo-yo, and it's amazing. So I could probably think of 5 to 10 baits that I feel like I mastered here. You know, I caught them on it, fish on it before, but catching that many fish here took me to that level of mastery where you can go anywhere with the utmost confidence and catch a fish on that bait, you know?
Oh, he thumped it. And I was ready to call for the net again. Now you'll see me raise my rod tip up when I'm trying to come over the rocks and get out of the grass. But then I put my rod tip right back down so I can get that bait down to where it needs to be. That's a nice feature of this 8-foot rod, is I can really get that bait out there. Oh, oh, come on. Man, they just knocked slack in the line. I had one on and missed it, and this one came back and got it. Did you see that? Man, this looks like another good one. Oh, it is. It's another big fish. Another big Lake Champlain fish. Gosh, good Lord, look at the size of this. Get down here. Look at that. Choked it. Wigglewort. Good gosh. Lake Champlain, guys. Whew. I gotta come down here. Oh my gosh. This. I mean, fish like this are so old, they've been around forever. It's a beautiful northern largemouth. Man, did he just wolfed on that wigglewort. And this is why I call this lake my favorite lake. There it is. There it is. Look at that, wigglewort. Giant largemouth. That's just amazing. Amazing. This is this kind of fish right here. This is what helped me fall in love with Lake Champlain. These beautiful. Look at the belly. Look at the healthiness of this fish. It's just an absolute beautiful, beautiful largemouth bass. It's a northern strain. It's up here chomping yellow perch, and there's just piles of these guys up here, way up by the Canadian border. It's just so much fun, whether you're fishing for these fish or you're fishing for brown fish. I'm gonna let this guy go. Oh my gosh, what a fish. What a fish, there he goes. Man, it just reminds me, it brings me back every time that happens to the first days that I came here on this lake, and they sent me here for a Bassmasters tournament, Bassmaster Top 100 years ago. And I'd never been here. I saw it on the schedule, and the first day I put my boat in this body of water, it just developed a love affair for this lake because of the opportunity to catch fish like that, and lots of them, and being able to do it in so many different ways, whether you like to fish grass or rocks or docks, you know, trees, creeks, main lake. Those fish live here. They live here in schools, and it's just so much fun. It's just so much fun. You can catch them on everything from flipping and cranking to caught that fish on a wigglewort, and you know, be able to catch fish like that, be able to move back and forth between largemouth and smallmouth all day long. Set up here in the Adirondack Mountains, just one of the prettiest places on earth. It's my favorite place to fish. You got to come up here. You got to take some time, bring the family, bring your fishing buddies and your club, come up here and enjoy this lake if it's on your bucket list. And it should be. If it's not, it needs to be on your bucket list. It's a phenomenal place to fish. It's so unique, it's so diverse, and it's so abundant with life. Come on up here and enjoy it.
let's switch gears here a little bit.
All right.
We're gonna drop some Bass University knowledge on people.
BU knowledge.
Yes, we're gonna try to do that a little bit.
All right.
From someone that has never been to this lake before.
Yeah.
Take us on a talking tour from Ticonderoga all the way up to Canada.
Absolutely. In my opinion, Lake Champlain, it's massive. Like I said, it's the 6th Great Lake. You know, it's giant. But you can break it into 3 sections, in my opinion. You know, you've got the north section of the lake. If you draw a straight line from Plattsburgh to Mallett's Bay to Burlington, Vermont, everything from there up I would consider the north end of the lake. It's my favorite area of the lake, you know, to put it frankly. And the reason is because it's really a 50-50, a true 50-50 fishery up here. It's got dynamic shallow flats and coves. It's got deep rock, sheer bluff, everything in between. I love the northern section of the lake. The other thing that's great about the northern section of the lake is you can get around up here. You know, the wind blows, you can get to a ramp. Even if you launch somewhere, you can usually hide behind something. So I like that factor. Then you go to the mid-section of the lake. So that would be from Burlington to Plattsburgh, south, all the way to the Champlain Bridge, you know, where the entrance to Ticonderoga is. That to me is sort of the middle section of the lake. The beauty of that area is that it's the most undiscovered, underfished section of the lake. And you know, I mentioned it before, but I really do think there are schools of fish that are swimming in that midsection that are unmolested, that don't get fished for, you know. The middle section, you lose some of the largemouth water, right? It's got less flats, it's got less weedy coves. You've got more deep structure, more vertical structure, more rock. So it's smallmouth water, you know, it's smallmouth heaven in the midsection. And then you've got the bottom of the lake, which almost is a system into its own, you know? And it's the dirtiest water in the lake. It's got the most color. It's more ravine, you know, it has more river characteristics throughout that section. And that's from the Champlain Bridge, the mouth of Ticonderoga, you know, where Ticonderoga begins, all the way down to the lock, you know? Literally, Champlain, I remember my early Redman days, I fished around the lock. There's a lock and dam down there where it gets, you know, only a couple widths of the boat, and there's literally a stopping point, a lock. There's another area called South Bay, and Ticonderoga, South Bay area is shallow, it's weedy, stained water. You know, deep water down there is 20, 30 foot. Central and north of Champlain, you've got 80, 100, 200, 300 foot of water in mid-lake. So it's shallower, it's weedier, way more flats, way more vegetation, and because of that, it's dominated by largemouth down there, and a lot of big largemouth, you know? In a tournament situation, I think the north end and the south end are really, you know, always prime targets for me. And historically, if you look at the wins here over the years, it's usually won in one of these two sections.
Iaconelli's 3-day total catch was enough to hold off the always competitive Klein and claim first place. 61 pounds and 3 ounces.
You know, and again, I really think it's because of the flats. You know, it's the areas of the lake that have the biggest flats. And you know, from BU, our rule is the bigger the flats, the bigger the population of fish, you know. So in a nutshell, that's Lake Champlain, you know.
The northern section of the lake, from Rouse's Point where the Canadian border is, right down to about here where Plattsburgh is, that's mainly a bass and pike area. A lot of shallow bays. Then when you go from Plattsburgh south all the way down just past Westport, that's the deeper section of the lake. A lot of lake trout and salmon are down there. That's mainly the lake trout and salmon area of the lake. But there are smallmouths and very few largemouth in that area. And then when you get past Westport and you go south, it shallows up again, and it gets a muddier water down there. It's a clay bottom, so it's nothing wrong with the water. It's just a clay bottom, so you can't see in that area. And that's when you start getting into more largemouth areas down there. A lot of weed beds, weed areas, and stuff like that. Yep. And if you're up here, you know, you wanna fish the structure, In the springtime, of course, you don't want to fish the pilings. The pilings you don't want to fish in the springtime because they're not there. They're in spawning, so they're into the shallower bays, both the largemouth and smallmouth. You wouldn't catch a fish there. I notice a lot of people who don't know, they just see, the bridges and the pilings and, and that's a bass trout, which it is, but it's not that time of the year. So they'll waste their time fishing the pilings, really, when you should be going near the shorelines, the rocky points, and actually rock and sand. Sand is a key thing in the springtime. Where the rock and sand meet, they seem to go there. And I think it's because of the heat, the effect of the sun in the sandier thing. I think it warms up more, and that's where they're going to the warmer water.
Let's give the fans of Bass U, let's give them a secret. Give them something that you maybe don't share, a tip, a secret technique. Let something out that maybe you haven't shared anywhere.
All right. I've got a few, but this one I do want to talk about. We talked about it earlier, but I want to reiterate it, which is those key spots in the grass that Champlain's known for, right? The places, those irregularities, and a lot of times it's a hard bottom spot. How do you find them? Because we've got the best electronics in the world now, but when you're idling a grass flat that's 6 to 8 foot deep for 5 miles, you could zigzag it for 3 days and you're not going to find that rock. I don't care what you do with your sensitivity. Dude, there's too much grass. There's milfoil, there's hydrilla, there's coontail. It's so much of it, you can't physically see it with your graph. So, I'm going to go ahead and say that 90% of the special magic places like that, those hard irregularities in the grass that I've found in Lake Champlain, 90% of them I've found with the bait, not with the sonar unit. And that's a big thing. I think, especially now, in this day of technology, people have gotten away from finding that stuff with the lure. And there's nothing better, dude, than a big jig, a 1/2 to 3/4 ounce jig, or a tungsten weight, right? Tungsten weight, 1/2 ounce, a 3/4 ounce tungsten weight to feel what's down there and let the bait find it for you, and I'll get on those flats and I'll literally do zigzags. I'll go down the flat, back the flat, and I'm watching my lines so that as I fan cast, I'm doing a good job of covering that entire flat. And, and I'm feeling, as I pitch in that grass, I'm feeling, is it soft? I'm waiting for that feeling of what we call the crunch, and you throw that big jig or that tungsten out there, you haven't felt anything for 45 minutes, and all of a sudden you feel hard. You feel it digging in. Dude, and 9 times out of 10, before you get excited, you're like, oh, that's the rock. And as you think it, and now with spot lock, and back in the day it was marker buoy, but now with spot lock or power poles, you stop and it can be every cast. It's unbelievable. And so using the bait, to find those magic spots here, God, I've done it in the north end of the lake. I've done it at Ticonderoga. I've won a red man doing that down in Ticonderoga. It's such a good technique to find fish that other guys won't find, Most of those other guys are gonna idle it and not see anything and leave. Or when they fish that flat, they're only gonna fish the outside edge of the grass. And they're virgin fish. They're fish that aren't fished for. They're the load. It's the mother load. It's the juice. It's the magic. And you find it with the bait. You don't find it with a sonar. All right, here we go. This is one of the most exciting parts right here of the fishing day. You launch the boat, you have anticipation, you're excited, you're anxious, and it's the beginning of a puzzle that's unsolved. Our goal today is we're gonna come out here, we're gonna try to solve the puzzle and hopefully catch some big largemouth and big smallmouth on Lake Champlain. Now that's exciting. Here we go, boys. looks like we're out in the middle of nowhere. But what you have here, if you look at this, is you have a big flat that comes off the bank heading into this pocket, and it's loaded with grass. This whole flat's got grass on it, but interspersed with the grass are rock piles, isolated rock. And that's really what the attractor is this time of the year. We're in the fall, and what happens is all this grass is actually dying. This grass is starting to die off. And as that grass dies, they're really attracted to the hard cover. So rocks or wood or anything hard becomes a lot more important in the fall as that grass dies. In the grand scheme of things, on a lake like this is Lake Champlain. It's a natural lake. There's a mix of smallmouth and largemouth. When you look at this day, this is a better largemouth day, right? It's cloudy, it's windy. The largemouth prefer these conditions. The smallmouth, they don't like the wind, they don't like the clouds, they don't like the rain. They want it sunny, still. And the reason for that is smallmouth feed more by sight. And so when it's like this, they have a harder time finding the bait. But largemouth, you know, they feed more on vibration. Oh, there was a bite there, I missed it. There's a look at some of that grass we're fishing around right there. It's called milfoil grass, and it's real feathery. It grows in these dense patches along these flats, and that attracts the bait fish, and the bait is what attracts the bass. So that's the key to the circle of life right there. If you have that, you're gonna have bait fish. Uh-oh. There's a bass. And that's the first bite I had. All right, number one. Now, you know, I put the spot lock on. You get your first bite, and now it's a matter of saying, was that a random bite, or is that the first piece of the puzzle? That's the question you got to start asking now. So, you know, largemouth, nice 2-pound largemouth or so, but I switched to a different technique. We had fished a spinnerbait, a vibrating jig, and then I went to a lure that gets closer to the bottom. This can be a bluegill or a crawfish imitation, and got my first bite in about 5 foot of water. So, you know, now what we're going to do is we're going to let this fish go, and we're going to try to get another bite. You know, if we can get another bite, it might be the beginning of a pattern. So that's what we got to figure out. It's a good one, number one. It's not bad. Let that thing go. Now, let's see if we can get another bite. One bite can be luck. 2 or 3 bites, that's not luck, that's a pattern. That's the beginnings of a pattern. That was a really strong bite too, so. Another one. Yeah, big one too. Big, oh God, a big giant largemouth. This is what I mean. This is pattern fishing right here. This is what you want. Look at this thing. Look at that big giant. Wow. Wow. See how fast it could happen? You see how fast it could happen? I mean, we literally went from, we went from being, not I want to say desperate, but you know, we were 1 spot, 2 spot, no bites, a couple pike. And all of a sudden we changed techniques. It's a cloudy, windy day. Why fish a bottom bait? Doesn't make any sense. But the fish have to tell you what to do. You know, that's the ultimate goal, is to let the fish tell you what to do. Not your buddy, not what you read on the internet, but the fish. Let the fish tell you what to do. And when they're eating it like that, I mean, it's down his throat. That's a good sign. That's about a 4-pound largemouth. A lot of these trolling motors now have a spot lock feature. So when I caught that first bass, I put my spot lock on immediately, and it anchored me here in this spot. I was able to make another cast to that same area and catch almost back-to-back fish. So that was a good one right there. It's a good number one right there for us. Good number one. Hopefully this is the making of a pattern. Remember, one bite could be luck, right? But 2 and 3 bites, that's a pattern. Yes, yes. Went back to that same beaver style bait. I'm just alternating baits now. There's a big giant group of fish there, and you can see they get fired up and they slow down. And a lot of times switching, cycling between baits will refire the school up. So obviously we have a school of fish here. So you throw a bait till you feel it slow. Grab another one, throw it till you feel it slow. So now we're just cycling through some different baits right there. Once again, I put the spot lock down. I made just a little move. I moved about 5 feet, caught that fish, put the spot lock down. Immediately throw right back. I'm not going to waste any time. So they slow down on it, you know, fish, bite, and here's the deal, okay? So they've got used to that bait. The bite is slowed. We're going to switch again. Now we're going to go to a little finesse. You see me picking up a different style of rod, light line, just a soft stick bait. This is a Berkeley Power Bait General, dark color General. We'll throw in that same area. We'll see with the different style bait. We're going to just keep changing. We're going to keep rotating between these different lures. Here's another one. It's a fish we wouldn't have caught if we didn't make that switch. A little smaller fish, but you know, the power of continually changing, you know, constant change to keep those fish biting. It's rotating between lures, you know, and then remember where you got that bite. And I try to immediately cast back to that same exact spot. Another one. Another fish I wouldn't have caught if I didn't keep switching. Getting them re-fired up, you know? Real important. Real important. That's why you have a lot of rods on the deck. I hear so many people say, what do you need that many rods for? Why you have that many rods on the deck, you know? And this is a classic example of why you want this many rods on the deck. Not just to change as you hit different targets, but also to change when you find a school like this. A great example of it. Perfect. There it goes. Switch baits. Again, you know, we're maximizing the school. It's real important. You know, I kept saying, you just keep switching. Went from a creature bait to a jig, back to the creature bait, to a vibrating jig, and we're reigniting the school. So we have the school identified, so now it's a matter of keeping him biting. And one of the ways to keep them biting is to change the lures. Basically just went from, we had a perch colored one on, which is what they're feeding on, but we went to a real dark one. And with these conditions, you know, what a dark bait does, if you notice, all these baits are real dark. Even the jig, it's black and blue, is under these dark conditions, you want contrast or brightness. So, you know, black is the ultimate contrast, right? It's dark, it's black, it's the absence of color. And that contrast in this water with these clouds is attracting the bites. See if we can get another one. I really slowed it down too. I almost let it sink to the bottom, you know? Go to a spinning, there's a big one. There's a big one. There's a big one. There's a big one. No, it's a good one. It's not a big one, but it's a good one. Look at that. Man, it feels so good when you figure out a pattern. You know, you hear the term pattern fishing, fishing the moment. What just transpired is exactly that. We went out this morning, we want to catch smallmouths, but the condition wasn't right. Windy, cloudy, the water was dirty. We kept an open mind, we kept moving, and we found a pile of largemouth. Man, if you can do that in your fishing every day, if you can let go of your history, forget about your history. Fish the moment. Let the fish tell you what to do. If you can do that every time you fish, you will be a better angler. And that's the bottom line. What a spot. It's a nice one there. Man. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
You know how your tournament's going
yeah.
when the camera boat leaves.
Yeah, and I think he said, you know, oh, we got to go up and cover.
All right, welcome back. Fresh off of the bucket list at Lake Champlain. Figured we'd leak a little bit of that awesome Bass University featured content that we shot up there at Lake Champlain, the historic Lake Champlain, that is. A few years ago, we shot that content, Jocelyn, and your name was in the credits.
I know. That is so cool. I never saw my name in the credits before. I didn't even know it was on there.
You're pretty much famous at this point. You are now a movie star because you were featured in the credits on a Bass UTV exclusive content production. So.
It's Jospy Fishing now, not Risby Fishing.
That's right. Jospy Fishing, guys. Joss just caught a giant. She always does. But anyway, so that was the bucket list. We're going to feature a little bit more of that stuff next week for you guys as well. We also have a Bass UTV bucket list that we shot down on Lake Chickamauga for our friends down there in the more southern regions of the country, down there in Tennessee. That's another great one as well. We shot that with Wesley Strader. He grew up on Chickamauga. And we had the privilege of sharing the boat with him for a few days to shoot that. So awesome stuff. Be on the lookout for that coming up as well. But right now, one of the things that I wanted to do today with everybody who's watching is I wanted to show some of the awesome things that you can do on the Bass UTV website, right? Everybody knows, or at least we try to make it known, that our website features over 1,000 videos on the website, but that can be overwhelming at times. You don't know where to start. You don't know which video you want to watch first. One of the cool things about what we do at Bass UTV is we have search features, and we have categories that all of our videos are broken down and categorized into. So what I'm going to do here is share my screen with you guys for a couple of brief seconds. And I'm going to actually show you on the Bass UTV website how you can find exactly what it is you want to learn about. I mean, we always say from A to Z, we got you covered. And that really is true. We have pretty much anything you could ever want to learn about in the sport of bass fishing. It can all be found in one place. So if you're sitting back watching right now and you've been wondering how you can get more out of your Bass UTV experience, I am about to show you on my screen. So as you can see here, you have the Bass UTV website. That's the background. We have our ticker flowing through, some of our current promotions. There's G-Man. That was a screenshot from his buzzbait seminar. There's Pete the Dean behind the helm going over a humminbird piece, and that's a little screenshot of our app. But let's just say somebody wanted to learn about how to fish ledges, right? We talked with Kyle Hall just a few minutes ago. He was going in depth on how he was finding the biggest schools of smallmouth that he could find off the ledges on Champlain and targeting all the biggest ones. So you want to learn about how to fish ledges. Let's see. I'm going to type in ledges in our search bar, which is up at the top right. Guys, if you're at home and you're wondering how to do this, always on Bass UTV. If you're on a desktop, you can utilize our search bar, which will be on the top right of your screen. Simply type in anything you want to learn about there, and boom, you hit enter. And what you get is your return, right? And in this return is all of the videos on Bass UTV that show about fishing ledges. Some of our most popular ones here are with G-Man, Gerald Swindle. We had the privilege of sharing the boat with him a couple years back out on Lake Gunnersville, and he put down an absolute beatdown. And one of the things I want you to notice here is the length. This is not a 5-minute sizzler video that you see on YouTube. This is an hour long, right? This is highly detailed, specific information on exactly what you want to learn about to help you get out on the water and become a better angler quickly. And it's not just that video. There's plenty more. There's videos from Buddy Gross where he's breaking down how he uses his electronics to find fish on ledges. Brian Thrift about crankbait fishing in all depths, including ledges. And here's a really unique one that we filmed a couple years ago with Drew Benton on offshore fishing is more than ledge fishing, right? So there's some really, really dynamic information in a lot of these videos to help you guys learn about anything you want to learn about. And another cool feature that we have, if you click our videos tab, is you can go to video topics, right? And if you want to just scroll through and see everything there is you could possibly learn about, it's broken down by major categories and then minor categories, right? The major category is bass fishing lures. And then underneath are all the different types of lures that you could ever want to learn about. All right, I'm going to go to poppers here selfishly because I've been on a little bit of a popper kick lately. They've been eating that on my body of water, and it's just such a fun way to catch them. So I clicked on poppers, and this is the return that I get, right? All these videos teaching how to fish a popper, and these are some of the baddest dudes on the planet with a rod and reel in their hand. It's KVD, it's Brian Thrift, Lee Livesey, Randy Howell, Jesse Wiggins. I mean, if you were to try to count the trophies between those guys, I think you'd get lost in the sauce. That's how good they are, and that's the type of guys we hire to work with us. There's a lot more other than just lures. There's specific habitat, species, electronics, fishing tackle, a whole list of professional instructors, right? So, guys, if there's one angler out there that you really, really want to learn from, we got him, right? He's on the list. You can definitely find information from him on Bass UTV. And there's also seasonal patterns, techniques, tournament tactics, water conditions. Like I said, from A to Z, man, we got you covered. And I know I'm not supposed to do this, Josh. I'm going to do it just real quick, guys. If you're a member and you want to get access to your member benefits page, right? You gotta be a Bass UTV paying member or be taking a free trial to have access to this. But under your My Account tab, there's something really cool, which is called your member benefits page, right? You go to your member benefits page, and boom, all these companies that we work with are right there on the member benefits page, and you can save money with all them. But if you're not a paying member, you can't see it. So I'm going to click off the screen just that fast. But guys,
You're lucky it was that fast.
There is some awesome stuff that you can take advantage of when you're a Bass Shoot TV member. Like I said, our guy Scott, he's our marketing extraordinaire. He's our man on the floor at iCast. He was working his tail off to add more and more companies to that list every day to help you guys save money on your fishing stuff. So take advantage of the program. We're going to do this again next week. We're going to feature a little bit more of some bucket list content, show you some more cool features next week as well on the website. Next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about the app and some of the cool things that you can do with that as well. And just a little sneak peek, a little tidbit of juicy info here. We have something in the works for you Bass Shoot TV members. You've been asking for it. You want to be able to access our content some different ways, maybe times when you don't have a Wi-Fi signal. Hint, hint, hint on what might be happening. So we'll reveal some more of that next week. But guys, it's been fun.
Also, wait, in the meantime,
they
can go watch our new releases this week.
That's right, Josh. Thank you for reminding me. Guys, this week, coming out to Bass Shoot TV, yesterday we released a video from, who'd we have yesterday? Pete. We had Pete Glusek yesterday fishing tidal water.
We have Scott this week, Scott Bone.
Scott Banama. And Scott was up there with us at where'd you guys go in Wisconsin? Sturgeon Bay, and Scott was teaching us how to throw the hair jigs. That's a dynamite little way, explosive way to catch fish. And he gave us the absolute juice on that. Tomorrow, we have an interview getting released with Todd Goad from Pulse Fish Lures. That's an awesome little scrounger head style bait. He talked with us at the Classic on how that thing can be utilized to catch fish behind people. And if you tournament fish, you very well know catching fish behind people is crucial. And then on Thursday, for our on-water release, Josh, who we got?
It's JT Kenny. Not all grass is the same.
JT Kenny, seminar classroom release. Not all grass is the same. Guys, I watched that one. I got to watch that one before we even released it because I created the teasers and all that good stuff for it. That is a really good one. He talks about eelgrass, which is very prevalent all over the country, especially late in the year. And a lot of hydrilla as well. So that's going to be a really good seminar. Don't forget to stay tuned. Catch those when they come out. A lot of good stuff is headed your way. Joss, am I missing anything?
I would just say one more time that we have a really good deal going on right now.
Yep.
For 6 months, it's $49.99, and you also get a $25 TackleDirect gift card. And let me tell you, that is worth it. And then go to the member benefits, spend all your money with the 40% off from Rapala and 30% missile baits, and you paid your subscription off.
That's right. It's the gift that keeps on giving, right? So take advantage of it. Get signed up for the program. Thank you for tuning in with us, and we hope to see everybody next week.
See you next week.
BassBoatForSale.com is the world's premier bass boat listings business. We focus on driving premium web traffic to our main website, business Facebook page, business Instagram, and our business YouTube channel, providing your bass boat listings, the best buying traffic, and top-notch exposure. Whether you need to sell your bass boat or are looking to buy a bass boat, it's simple. We give boats exposure so buyers shop and sellers list. One-time listing fee, no commission, and boats list until they sell. BassBoatForSale.com. Check it out.
AquaView, the leader in underwater viewing technology. Find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun.